right, without further ado, enough football talk for the day. Let's dive into a little bit of basketball right here. So I am now going to rank the 10 greatest basketball players of all time. So the greatest basketball player of all time is Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Michael Jordan. Jordan, I believe, is not only arguably the greatest basketball player of all time, he's arguably the greatest athlete of all time, point blank, period. Whether you take into account athletic ability or just where someone ranks within a sport, whether you want to talk about volleyball, track and field, swimming, tennis, baseball, basketball, football, it doesn't matter. Among all the major sports, you can make the argument Michael Jordan's resume within his sport is the best of all time. He was a 6-time NBA champion, 6-time NBA Finals MVP, was undefeated in the NBA Finals, 6-0. I think Michael Jordan, as an overall talent, when you take into account the skill set and just the flat-out ability to play the game of basketball, he's better than LeBron James. He's better than Kareem AbdulJabbar. He's better than Larry Bird, okay? Kobe Bryant, to me, had a couple more tricks in the bag than Michael Jordan, but I think that Michael Jordan was just flat out the better and more naturally talented player, just because I think that Michael Jordan got the most out of his game compared to Kobe, and it impacted winning a lot better. Michael Jordan is the best scorer of the basketball the NBA has ever seen. And he scored very efficiently too, consistently shooting over 50% from the field, had a great true shooting percentage as well. He's one of the 10 best defensive players to ever play the game of basketball, in my opinion. So not only does he have the argument for being one of, if not the best offensive player ever, he's a top 10 defensive player of all time as well. He, at one point, won a Defensive Player of the Year award. And Michael Jordan is a very underrated passer of the basketball. At one point, when he was asked to be the point guard, the true point guard for the Bulls, he consistently averaged over 8 assists per game. At least for in one season he did. In the NBA Finals, the first NBA Finals in which he won versus the Lakers, he averaged 11 assists during that series versus Magic Johnson and the Lakers. He three-peated twice. At his peak, he was the best. He was the best the NBA's ever seen. Michael Jordan's number one. Number two, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The talent that is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is super underrated. Okay? This is a guy that had a 20-year career and had 19 All-Star appearances within that 20-year career. So all but one season was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar not an All-Star. Okay? He had the most unstoppable shot ever, the sky hook. He's the current all-time leading scorer in NBA history, even though LeBron James is more than likely going to pass him very, very soon. But keep in mind, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar became the all-time leading scorer without hitting a single three-point shot, which is very impressive to me. He's won the most NBA MVP awards ever in the regular season at 6. People talk about Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan has 5 MVPs. He probably definitely should have more. Not even probably, definitely should have more. But Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has Michael Jordan beaten that category at least, winning 6 MVPs. He's one of the best defensive players ever. At one point, he led the NFL in blocked shots 4 times. That doesn't even take into account a couple seasons where the NBA didn't even count blocked shots when Kareem was playing. In his second season ever at age 23, he won the NBA Finals MVP, averaging 32 points per game on the Milwaukee Bucks. We know what he did with Magic Johnson and the Lakers, winning multiple championships. He's good for the number 2 spot on this list. I really struggle with 3 and 4. Kobe Bryant is at number 3 for me. I'll get to who I have at number 4 in a second, that guy being LeBron James. Kobe Bryant is the most skilled basketball player in NBA history. And what do I mean by that? That means he had the most tricks in his bag, in my opinion. Like, whatever you could throw at Kobe Bryant defensively, he literally had a counter for, the ability to handle the basketball, the ability to shoot, the ability to, defend at a very high level. I think Kobe Bryant as a defender was very, very underrated. I believe he was an 11-time first team all defensive player, which is amazing. I don't think that gets talked about enough. It's some crazy number like that. But Kobe Bryant as an on-ball defender, very, very underrated. And I think that he is by far and away the most skilled player of all time. I know Jordan has an argument, but Jordan was not the three-point shooter that Kobe Bryant was. Maybe Jordan never needed to be the three-point shooter that Kobe Bryant was because, well, we see the success that he had. But the point is, whatever data you want to look at, Kobe Bryant has proven he's a better three-point shooter than Michael Jordan. I think that's definitely proven. He was able to win 2 championships without Shaq, 5 championships overall. He only has 1 MVP award to his name, but 11 times Kobe Bryant finished top 5 in MVP voting. I believe he at least should have 2 MVPs to his name, maybe 3. And Kobe Bryant at one point was the best player in the league. I will say that. I think from about 2007 to roughly about 2012, you can make the argument that Kobe definitely was the best player in the league. But when he was the best player in the league, he had some rough patches. He had a first-round exit. He blew a 3-1 lead to the Suns. And again, those were some years where he did not have the support that he needed to win titles. But compared to a guy like Michael, compared to a guy like Kareem, who's won 6 MVPs, compared to Kobe's 1 MVP, the highest I could put Kobe's at 3. Okay, but yeah, that's how I feel about Kobe. Number 4, LeBron. Now, a lot of people think that LeBron James is the greatest basketball player of all time. I do not subscribe to that belief, people. I just don't. You cannot be the greatest basketball player of all time if you have a losing record in the NBA Finals. That's the reality. I think that's fair. I really do. I also believe the guys I have ahead of LeBron James are just flat out more talented. I think Kobe Bryant is a more talented basketball player than LeBron James and a better defensive player. I think Kareem AbdulJabbar is a more talented player than LeBron James and at his peak was a better defender. And I think that Michael Jordan, the resume speaks for itself. I don't even want to talk about it because I think Jordan is by far and away better than LeBron James. But when it comes to longevity, LeBron has mostly everyone beat. He's entering his 20th season in the NBA. And you can make the argument that LeBron James is still definitely a top 5 player in the game. He's going to finish top 5 all time in points and assists. It's going to be a very long time until someone reaches that milestone. Heck, maybe nobody ever will be top 5 all time in points and assists like LeBron James. LeBron's a 4-time champion. He was able to win a championship with 3 different franchises. At some point, he definitely was the best player in basketball. You can make the argument that fluctuates within a 5 to 7 year stretch, in my opinion, where he was clearly and by far and away the best player in basketball. Some people will argue it's a little bit longer, and I don't necessarily, throw punching bags at those people. But, the point is, I think that number 4, based on my criteria, is a more than fair ranking for LeBron James, who to me is the 4th greatest basketball player of all time. And he definitely could continue to move up on this list because I think LeBron, if he wants to, he could play for another 5 years. How good will he be during that stretch? We'll see if he decides to play that long. Magic Johnson, for me, is the number 5 best player of all time, the 5th greatest player of all time. He's easily the best passer of all time, in my opinion. Just had a knack for distributing the basketball to his teammates. He's one of the greatest leaders ever for his career. He shot 52% from the field. And I'll just give you a little summary of Magic Johnson that should speak for itself. A 13-year career, 9 NBA Finals appearances, 9 top 3 MVP finishes, 3 MVPs won, 12 All-Star appearances, 5 championships won, with 3 NBA Finals MVPs during that stretch. That's good for being the 5th best player of all time. I just don't think I can put Magic Johnson any higher just because from a talent perspective, the guys I have above him are better and they have better longevity than Magic Johnson. Number 6, Larry Bird. At one point, Larry Bird won 3 straight MVPs. He was clearly the best player in basketball at one point. He and Magic Johnson traded that title for a very long time, for about a decade. He's a 3-time champion, 2-time Finals MVPs. I'd argue outside of Steph Curry, Ray Allen, and maybe Klay Thompson, who's a better shooter of the basketball than Larry Bird all time? Kyle Korver, maybe, but that's about it. I think that Larry Bird is a top 5 shooter of all time. He was an unbelievably great passer at his peak and a great rebounder too, was consistently giving you 25 to 27 points per game each night, with 10 rebounds and 6 to 7, 8, even sometimes 9 or 10 assists. He was a willing defender as well. Not the greatest defender out there, but he definitely gave his best effort on that end. And in the biggest moments, Larry Bird was money. He rarely shrinked under pressure. He's good at number 6 on this list. Shaquille O'Neal. gets the number 7 spot, aka Shaq. At Shaq's peak, he has the argument for being the most dominant basketball player to ever walk planet Earth. Shaq was able to win 3 finals MVPs at one point, and that includes a performance at one point in the NBA Finals where he averaged 38 points per game with 16 rebounds per game in his first ever NBA Finals. And that's shooting 50 to 60% from the field most nights. His efficiency was off the charts. He was a big part of the Miami Heat winning a championship when Dwayne Wade led them to a championship and won Finals MVP. And at one point, Shaq was the best player in the game. For about a 3 to 4 year stretch, he was that guy that had the title of best player in the world. That counts for something. Tim Duncan is at number 8 for me. Initially, I had Tim Duncan rated number 10 on my list. But after thinking this over and really truly evaluating his resume with another full glance, I came to the conclusion that I had to put him higher. First of all, Tim Duncan has 15 all-defensive selections to his resume. That's the most all-time. 15 times he was all-defense. Most all-time, like I said. Never once in Tim Duncan's career did he lead a team that missed the playoffs. He never missed the playoffs in his entire career. And Tim Duncan played forever, people. Okay? He's a 5-time champion, the ultimate model of consistency. He was able to win 2 league MVPs in his career. And for about a 4-year stretch, maybe a 3 to 4 year stretch, Tim Duncan had an argument for best player in the game. So you cannot tell the story of the NBA without mentioning Tim Duncan's name, I should say. 5 championships with the Spurs, 6 championship appearances. If it were not for LeBron James and Ray Allen's greatness, he would be 6-0, arguably maybe in championship games. And the Spurs, ever since Tim Duncan has left, they haven't been the most iconic franchise out there. So Tim Duncan at number 8 for me. Now, Hakeem Olajuwon at number 9. I believe Hakeem is better than Tim Duncan. But I think Tim Duncan's resume is better than Hakeem's resume. And when I'm telling the story of the National Basketball Association, I think Tim Duncan ranks higher. However, Hakeem Olajuwon is arguably the best defensive player to ever walk planet Earth. He's a multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year award winner. Incredible combination of size, speed, agility, and instincts on the defensive side of the basketball and really on the offensive end as well. He was very underrated as a scorer, consistently averaging 25 to 27 points per game in his prime. He won 2 championships at one point. I'd argue during those 2 years, he was the best player in the NBA, considering that Michael Jordan was in retirement. Hakeem Olajuwon, very underrated. And the fact that he's only won 2 championships, I can only put him so high, but he deserves to be at number 9 for me. Wilt Chamberlain had to be on this list, people. He simply put has just so many records, man. The records that he holds are off the charts. Any record with significance that is of positivity when it comes to basketball, Wilt Chamberlain has his name to it, I guarantee you. Whether it be scoring, rebounding, blocking shots, minutes per game played. Wilt Chamberlain's name is going to be right there, man. He's a career 30-point per game scorer. At one point, he averaged 50 points per game in a season. Now, the downside to Wilt is, in the playoffs, his points per game dipped significantly. It went from 30 points per game in the regular season to 24 points per game in the postseason. But he still was able to win 2 championships. And I'm sorry, people. I think from an individual talent perspective, he's better than Bill Russell. Just because Bill Russell's team did better than Wilt Chamberlain's team, that doesn't mean that Bill Russell's automatically the better player, okay? Now, if you want to make the argument that because Bill Russell was better than Wilt, because Bill has more championships than Wilt, that's a direct correlation to him being a better player than Wilt. If you want to argue that, fine. I'm not going to do that. I think Bill Russell is one of the most overrated players of all time. Rest in peace to him. He definitely is getting his flowers from me because I believe Bill Russell is the greatest winner, not just in basketball history, but sports history, but from a talent perspective and from a production standpoint, he doesn't match up to make my top 10. But those are the 10 guys that I believe are the 10 greatest basketball players of all time.